Talking to Coach Rick a minute ago, he was talking about the third and longs and how there were too many of them. What do you think is kind of contributing to that and into the early downs and you guys having trouble getting enough yards to make it manageable?
Yeah, last week we had a couple situations came up that jumped to mind where we had penalties. We had a false start penalty down in the red zone. I think we were 3rd and 3 and it backed us up. We had another one that was probably 3rd and 7 where we had a false start. So those are things you can't do. I mean, when you're in a third down and manageable, you can't set yourself back. But again, we got to get ahead of the sticks. We got to win first down. Last week had a couple negative runs. Guys, ball gets bounced outside and kind of you lose some yards. That certainly hurts. And when we are in second down and long, Grayson needs to understand, hey, we're looking to get a completion. I think that's a big part of it. So runs and completions, or efficient runs and completions on first and second down, normally sets you up for third down and manageable. And we certainly can't shoot ourselves in the foot with pre-snap penalties. Penalties are going to happen. The holdings and stuff like that's going to happen. That's the nature of the game. But it's the pre-snap stuff that kind of hurts.
Do you think Sony is capable, not capable, but in terms of his workload versus what Chubb was used to, is he equipped for that kind of?
I think so. Again, I'm not going to compare the two. They're very different. But, what he did in that game for us, not certainly expecting to have to go and do that was pretty amazing, I thought. Certainly we'll take care of him during the course of the week, and we'll give him some spots. But obviously we're going to be at our best when he's in there, and I think he's excited about that opportunity. Certainly not happy with how it's kind of come about, but I think he's excited about that opportunity and ready to attack it.
Can you talk about the role of the tight end that's changed a little bit? I think people were looking for Jeb to put up some larger numbers, kind of build off of last season, but it seems like they're working a lot in the blocking. Has the role changed, or defense is taking away that option?
No, actually, Jeb and I had a great talk the other day. We were talking about just some stuff with him, and again, I think it's nothing where again we're not trying to get him involved. I think they've done a really good job in the run game. Again, probably some things that we need to try to make sure we're targeting him. But for the most part, it goes back to during the course of the week, the consistency of he and Grayson or he and Jay Rome being on the same page is something that we've worked on and talked about. But we're going to be best when those guys are involved. We want to spread the ball around to everybody. We want to throw the ball to tight ends and receivers. And again, I think that was a good thing that came out of last game is the ball didn't just go to Malcolm. They were trying to take away Malcolm. They were matching number 5 on Malcolm, and you saw Reggie break out with a big performance. So again, we'll be at our best when everybody's included or everybody's involved in the passing game.
Coach, one of the things I wanted to ask you about Sony, he's kind of more of a change of pace back when Nick was back there, and you had to figure whenever he came in the game, teams were worried about how he was in the game, they might throw it to him.
Right.
Now that he's in there all the time, do you think that you guys can maybe use him in a way that's going to make him a little bit more effective now that he's going to be there constantly and you can't really worry about one thing over the other?
Absolutely. I think that certainly helps. When he's in there, a lot of times you're right. When he goes in, it's kind of a red flag, especially when they were both in the game at the same time. Nick was in the one spot and Sony was outside. Actually, late in the game against Tennessee, we didn't hit it, we missed it, but we lined him up at receiver, brought him across in motion. And it was one of those situations where we had him matched on a corner, and he ran a really good route. But again, he's a dynamic weapon, and so again, having him in there more consistently certainly makes the defense kind of not forget about him. They'll never forget about him, but relax a little bit because it's not like, hey, here comes number 1 off the sideline.
How do you feel Terry Godwin's done so far this season, and is he filling a role in the offense like you thought he would?
I think obviously, Terry's got a ton of ability. Again, I think he made some nice plays for us late in that game. I talked about this, I think, a week or so ago with Terry. It's just consistency. I think that the sky's the limit with him. I think the beautiful thing about Terry is how well he kind of sees the field and understands the game of football, which makes it kind of easy for him to go out there and move in different spots. We barely missed him on the one inside fade that we had, but he's had some opportunities and made some plays, and then of course, we've missed him at times. But again, us moving forward, talking about spreading the ball around, he'd be a big part of that as well.
How close are those young receivers behind it? The Jason Stanley, Michael Chigbu. How close are those guys to being able to kind of crack the lineup and start seeing a few more snaps?
Again, I think, obviously we're seeing more consistency from those guys. I think each day gets a little bit better. What's happened the last couple of weeks is they've made some strides and taken a step or two back. A guy that's jumped out the last couple of days, to be honest with you, is Shakiri Wilson. made a lot of plays. Obviously, it's a lot going on for those kids. You know, there's a lot of stuff they're learning, they're doing special teams, things like that. But again, I think they're more comfortable now, and we're seeing less of the mental mistakes that maybe we saw in week 1 or 2. You know, we're seeing less of those, which gives you more confidence to be able to put them in there. And certainly as the plays increase and things like that, we need to get those guys involved and get them in early so we can save some of those guys' legs for late in the game, guys like Malcolm and Reggie and people like that.
Last question.
Talked about Sony's versatility and how sometimes you were able to line him up at receiver. Now that he's the feature back to you, how do you keep him fresh to where he's going to be running the ball a lot, but there's some plays where you do want to line him up at receiver?
Yeah, well, I think obviously it starts with during the course of the week. You know, we got to be smart with what we do with them during the course of the week as part of it. We certainly will roll the other backs through. I think that's something that we've believed in regardless of who the back is. The issue now is just trying to find enough time to get him all the work of the routes, you know, that he would get. But another guy that just really understands the game of football, and you know, you can tell him something one time and he knows it. And again, that's one of the guys that Grayson can go and throw a route to one time and they just kind of have it. So we'll give them breaks at the right time. You know, if a drive's going, we'll try to give them a break more around midfield than in the red zone. You know, you want them kind of ready to go when you get down in the red zone, things like that. But when he's not in there, we trust that those other guys will, like I said, go in there and perform well for us.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.